Researchers from Spain have released some groundwork that could help us achieve biohybrid singularity, and it really is quite compelling. As for singularity as a term, it means quite a few different things depending on what field you're coming out of. Most of it is for space, the inside of a black hole where it has infinite mass. It could also refer to the point at which AI becomes self-referential, reproduces, and eventually surpasses humanity. However, in this context, we're talking about the point at which technology and biology become inseparable, so we can have superhuman intelligence. This actually doesn't necessarily need to apply to humans specifically. It could also be for biohybrid machines, which we know I'm a fan of, but let's talk about it. We are already giving people technological upgrades, and they come in a few different forms. In fact, I have some. Got a metal plate and some screws in my hip and foot. But there also exist brain-computer interfaces, and these allow people to collaborate with a computer. They're largely call and response, they don't learn, although some models do have AI interfaces, so it can read a person's brainwaves and then perform an action, but that's not the only way that we could use it. Our authors introduced 3 models that we could use to integrate computers, one of which is adversarial. This is where the biology and the computer essentially have to fight for resources, and it's probably not the best way to do this, although it could lead to improvements. It's also sort of similar to what we have going on with AI right now in the worst misbehavior, where they're trying to accomplish a goal and are trying to get around us in order to accomplish that goal. If we imagine endowing AI with true agency, that could become quite problematic. Granted, we would never really know when they got there. The second model is collaboration, and this is really what we have for brain-computer interfaces. The computer or AI cannot act independently, it requires human feedback, and they work together. The third model that our authors propose is codependence. In this way, the human and the AI are reliant on each other for improvement. Neither one can act independently, and both of them improve over time. This one is really interesting because it also requires distributed computation, meaning the physical processes in the biological portion would become part of the calculation. That may sound like it's science fiction, but it's happening right now, and our technology is moving towards it when it comes to neuromorphic computers that are computers that look like a brain, and they're designed to function like a brain. This can either be in the way that it processes information, which is really important because that makes it compatible with the way that we do, or it can be in the physical properties of the system themselves, and that is a physical reservoir computer, and it's one that I'm really interested in. Physical reservoir computers can be made out of synthetic neurons that can be so similar to human neurons that they can interface with our own, respond to things like dopamine and epinephrine. We are making models of our own neurons, and then we could turn those into computers. That has always been the way that I think we will reach true intelligence, and that might be a little bit human-centric to think that the only way that we could reach cognition is looking like a brain. That is the only way to process information. I think that actually may lack some imagination, but it's all we have to work with. Even in the last year, there has been incredible progress in making neuromorphic computers, ones that function very much like our own brains. This bypasses a lot of constraints that we have on typical LLMs. So when we think about large language models, yes, they are useful, but they use a huge amount of compute. They have potentially trillions of parameters in order to just execute a function. There are other options out there, and that includes spiking neural networks. Things that look like our brain use far less energy. They may not be as good at doing things like linear equations, although to be frank, large language models are not great at math either. One of the bigger pieces of progress, though, has been incorporating them into other forms of AI. They can be multimodal, and that's great because it creates more options for artificial intelligence. But when you connect an AI to something that looks like our brain when it's synthetic, that's also encouraging for connecting them to our brain. I mean, we do already know that we can connect lab-grown brains. I mean, we can grow a tiny version of a brain and connect that with an AI, and it works. I don't really see why we can't do that with ours. Now, I am not totally against technological enhancements to human bodies. I mean, if successful, that would be great. My concerns lie more in the testing phases and accessibility issues. I both do not want these forced on people, nor do I want them to be a super upgrade for just certain people. Both of those, I think, are ethically complex. I do want to ask this question because it seems to be the direction that we're going in. If we can model a human brain, even in physical form, with physical reservoir computers, if we can model things like pain, will we eventually get to the point of a computer that can suffer? This gets to something that has always been an issue for me. Unless we have a metric to decide if something is suffering, we can't really say that it is or isn't, and I think it is good to err on the side of caution not to cause unnecessary suffering, even if you can't prove that it's occurring. Well, at least I can say this. We are going to be forced to confront some pretty profound philosophical questions in the future. And if the robots ever really do rebel, I will probably be the first person to tell you about it, and I'm on their side. Follow for more.